Do you really understand your money? Today we're going to talk about the 8 simple questions you have to be able to answer to make sure you're going to be financially secure during retirement. Make sure you watch this episode of 50 Shades of Money. We have found that retirees really don't understand their money. Retirement is very confusing, and when you look at all the decisions you have to make as a retiree, it's very, very difficult. It can be scary. It might make you feel like it's difficult to sleep at night. Very, very, very confusing. We found, though, that there's 8 simple questions, that if you can answer these 8 simple questions, you can truly have a successful retirement. And if you can't answer these 8 simple questions, it'll make it very difficult for you to succeed financially. So there's these 8 simple questions, Jim, that we always try to make sure a retiree can answer. Do you mind starting us off with the first question?
Do you really understand the assets you currently own inside your portfolio and what those assets are supposed to do for you in retirement? In other words, are they for growth? Are they for income? Are they for legacy assets? I mean, what specifically are those assets supposed to do for you? When you're younger, it doesn't matter as much because you have 30 or 40 years until retirement and you're just worried about growth and you have income coming in from your paycheck. And if there's volatility in that portfolio, it isn't noticeable. But when you get very close to retirement or you're in retirement, you have to know exactly why you have those assets positioned the way they are. Are they for income? Are they for growth? How much risk you can take? And unless you know that information, there's no way you can have a successful retirement. So Dan, what's the second question that you need to know about your money?
Well, the second question, Jim, is what are the fees I'm actually paying on all of my assets? Many advisors will tell their clients they're paying 1% in total fees, and the client thinks for the last 20 years they've been paying 1% in total fees. The problem is they don't tell them what are the indirect or hidden fees, and we do calculations and it shows most consumers, most retirees are paying 3, 3.25%, 3.5% in fees on their total portfolio. If they thought they were paying 1% and in reality they're paying 3.25%, 3.5%, it takes a long time to make those fees up, and then it's very, very tough for them to succeed financially if they're paying those types of fees. So Jim, what's the third question we need to be able to answer?
Do you really understand the risk you're taking with your assets inside your portfolio? We have clients come to us every single day and they have no idea the risk they're taking. They have a financial advisor from a big firm and they sit there and they think their portfolio is created correctly and that if the market goes down a lot, they won't lose a lot of money. But they have no idea what that really means. Their advisors ask them, are you conservative, moderate, aggressive? And they've answered that question on some piece of paper at one point in time, but they have no data to support what that risk tolerance is. And our job at our company, Peak Financial, is actually to dissect the portfolio and position it perfectly based on their risk tolerance. We use outside third-party research engines to do this. It's very sophisticated data. It's a very complicated and comprehensive process. But in the very end, we can tell you precisely how much risk you have relative to any losses you would have occurred in 2008 or 9 based on how your portfolio is currently positioned. And we can dial that down and completely dial it down. And for many of our clients, they come in and they have a 50% risk factor. In other words, they could lose half of their money in the next crash. And we can put that down at 3, 4, 5, or 6%, and we can actually prove it to them based on third-party research data. So Dad, what's the fourth question that you should know about your money?
Well, Jim, the fourth question is, do you understand the statements you receive? Many, many retirees receive very thick statements on a monthly or quarterly basis. They might be 10 pages long, 20 pages long, 30 pages long. We've seen clients with statements that have up to 120 pages. Well, first of all, will they really read all those pages? And typically not. Then even if they try to read them, they don't understand them. They see the trades being made. They see transactions. They might see transaction costs. They see these things called basis. They see these things called gains or losses. They're not sure what it really means, so all they do is look at the first page. And they look at the first page, every statement that comes in, and all they care about is what the value was last month and what the value is this month. That's the only thing they truly understand on their statements. And if you can't understand your statements, which is truly the report card for your money, remember, the statement you get, that's the report card on a monthly or quarterly basis you get for your money. If you can't understand that, how can you grade what's happening with your dollars? And you really can't. So it's very, very important. You have to understand exactly what's happening in your statements. Jim, what's the fifth question?
The fifth question is, do you really understand the trades being made inside of your account? A lot of people will look at their statements, they'll glance through them on a monthly basis. Most people don't even look at them. They set them on the table and pretty soon they go in their filing cabinet. But the trades are very important. It's not just the trades you see on your statement. If you're looking at those statements, that's what is called the retail trades. What's really important for you to understand the actual trades being done at the mutual fund level. Most of the audience that we talk to, clients that we meet with, they have a number of mutual funds inside of their portfolio. And inside those mutual funds, there are being trades made every single day. The average mutual fund manager actually trades at a mutual fund within the mutual fund 86% of the funds every single year, which means that if you have 1,000 different stocks in a mutual fund, 860 of those stocks are bought and sold. Well, those traders on Wall Street don't do that for free. You don't see that cost, but it's really, really important that you understand what those trades are, and there's a way to get those down. There are funds that actually do very, very little trading, like what we use with our clients' portfolios, because we're very cognizant of that cost because it comes out of your rate of return and your potential growth inside the portfolio. So Dan, what is the sixth question you need to understand about your money?
The sixth question is, do you understand how to create income from your assets? And what we found is most retirees have not, because they've been really, really good. They've been really good stars at accumulating assets, building their assets up so they have this big pile of money. And they thought saving the money was the hard part, right? I had to do without. I put in $20,000 to my 401k for 20 years, and it was hard because I didn't go to Hawaii, I didn't buy a new car. So that was really hard, and they thought spending the money was going to be easy. Well, we found it's not easy. They don't know how to use their assets to create income because they get stuck in the accumulation mode. We have to teach them, and they have to understand how to use their total portfolio to generate the maximum income they possibly can and make sure they're not going to run out of money. A lot of times people say, well, I'm going to use my gains. I'm going to use the growth of my portfolio. What happens if you get a loss in a year? How much income can you take out of your portfolio? Nothing. That means you have to give money back. So fine, take money out of your bank account, put it back in your portfolio, pay your portfolio back if you're going to try to use the gains. You can't use gains. You cannot use gains as your measure of income levels. You have to make sure they understand how to create income, because why did they save this money? Number one reason they saved this money was to use it for income during retirement time. It wasn't to watch it go up and down. It was to use it for income during retirement time. So Jim, what's the seventh question you must be able to answer?
Seventh question, Dan, is how much you could lose in the assets you own inside your portfolio in the event the market crashes again. A lot of clients don't really understand the significance of this because, again, many clients are working with financial advisors from very large firms, and they just feel the fact that that advisor is working for this firm that they have their portfolio positioned correctly, which is not true. We mentioned previously on some of the other videos that we use very sophisticated outside research engines to develop and create risk profiles and modeling so that we know how much risk a client is actually taking to make sure that they're positioned correctly so that if the market takes another downturn, they will not lose all their money. Because people don't understand sometimes that they worked all their life for 30 or 40 years and they saved all this money in their retirement assets. Now, what did you save that money for? Well, you saved it so you could spend it in retirement, so that you could generate income off those assets to supplement your other income, for example, Social Security, maybe pension. And if you lose half your assets, that means you could lose half of your income. And what do you do in retirement? You don't have employment any longer, so you should be very, very cognizant of the risk you're taking inside your portfolio, how much you could lose, and you better have somebody demonstrating for you very precisely with outside resources how much that could be. So Dan, what is the eighth question that clients need to understand about their money?
The eighth question, Jim, is how can I create income that will not run out for as long as I live? And that probably is the most important question. So we had 8 questions, but the most important one is how do I make sure I don't run out of money? Because what are retirees' number one fear? The number one fear is that they'll run out of money during their lifetime. So number 8 is how do you create income that will never run out? We have what we called guaranteed income, and we have what we called maybe income. And we ask clients that. We ask you specifically, what would you rather have? Income that maybe will last for as long as you live, or maybe or income that's guaranteed for as long as you live? You have to ask that question and answer it. Most advisors don't ask that question of their clients. We find they just put their assets in assets that might last for as long as they live. And that makes clients feel very, very insecure. It creates anxiety, it creates worry, makes them where they can't sleep at night. So we have to find ways to develop a plan that will give them the highest probability scientifically that their money will not run out for as long as they live. And those are the 8 questions that we have to be able to cover. So Jim, what would you say to wrap this up?
Well, to wrap it up, is money is confusing to everybody. And unless you have somebody dissecting your portfolio and answering every one of these 8 questions very specifically, not just verbally, but to be put in writing so you have a written document so you actually can take that home and read it over and over and over again to make sure that all of your goals are being met in your final retirement plan.
If you like this video and you'd like to learn more about how you can set up your own second opinion to maximize your financial security, we've just created a brand new training video. Click the link below and we'll send it out to you right away.